Welcome to AI for Lawyers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AI for Lawyers with attorney Samar Shah and Lawrence Liu. Through Second Opinion.law, Samar and Lawrence help law firms implement artificial intelligence in ways that preserve accuracy, supervision, and professional responsibility. In earlier episodes, we covered hallucinations in legal research, sanctions cases, and why audit trails and documentation matter. Today builds directly on that. We're talking about agentic AI, systems that do not just answer prompts, but can pursue a goal through multi-step actions. The question is not, is it impressive? The question is, can you supervise it and prove you did? So, fellas, good to see you both.
Same here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Sean. We look forward to this discussion.
Yeah, everyone is using the term agentic AI. What does it mean in plain English?
Agentic AI, it's a little bit different than the current use of AI, mostly chatbot, and it's you type it in and you get a response back. Whereas agentic AI is software that AI is running in the background, so process things in the background, waiting for an event, or based on a schedule. Let's say we want to run a log audit at midnight every night to figure out if there's something different about the patterns of usage over the day, or waiting for event. Let's say if there's an event somebody's trying to do, process a document that is not within the guardrails, then we can stop it. So those are the things that's different than current chat user interface.
Got it. And why does that distinction matter right now for law firms?
For the last few years, most AI company would have a chat interface and then would type in and sending a prompt and sending a file in, and we get a response back. But now we're moving to the next level of AI, basically agentic AI, and then we process information in the background and preventing things that can happen or schedule events that will process. For example, we're processing audit trail at midnight to figure out what's going on during the day. Are there any anomalies? Are there any patterns that we need to follow up? And if there are any customer requests that we need to follow up. So those are the things that we work on as AI agents. The other part is AI agents sitting there waiting for an event, versus today where we need to do an interactive interface.
Samar, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm glad Lawrence is on this call because he can explain this in a way that I definitely cannot. But, and Lawrence, tell me if this is too simplistic, but I always think of agents as like associates, right? Now I have a research associate. Now I have a drafting associate. Now I have a supervising associate. So I just kind of think of them as doing all of these jobs that I would normally delegate to other people in my firm as an attorney. And now there is a specific AI that's tasked with this specific job. And it used to be, and it blows my mind every time I use our Second Opinion.law tool. It used to be that you tell the AI this needs to be done and it will do it, and you check it and then you fix it. But now it's so smart that it will do it and then it'll say, is this good enough? And if it's not, it will go back and find more stuff and it will shore up those deficiencies, and the agents will interact with each other until the work product is much higher quality. So it's really amazing how the tool has evolved and how good it is. But that's really how I think about agents, is like they are associates who are doing specific jobs and they will keep working until the job is done, which is what human associates do.
Yeah,
that's exactly right on with the agents. So we can have different type of agents: research agent, judging agents, and evaluation agents. So these different type of agents work in the background and then perform tasks and repeatedly if necessary to get the job done. So that's exactly right. Yeah.
You both touched on aspects of this, I think, but I'm curious how this current sort of generation, if you will, of AI and agentic AI, how is it different from the automation tools that firms already use?
That's a really good question. And The current tools is it's very inflexible. Basically, what it does is it have to be programmed. So you have to have right programs or script or instruction for it ahead of time. But whereas AI, it will make decisions and it will decide whether to go on or have to repeat or figure out other solutions. So these are different. That where in the past it's much harder. Where AI today, you just pretty much write down the instructions and put it in agent and tell it the explicit instructions in English, versus have to write code, have to write script for it in the past. And they're smart enough to follow instructions. And sometimes if we need to, we can ask it to generate code for it and generate code for it or generate graphics for it. So that's where the big difference is versus in the past.
Yeah, second that. And just in attorney terms, basically, it's like telling an associate, hey, I want to know what the current rule is on this particular matter. And if they came back and said, I did a pass once, and this is what I think it is, I have no idea if it's actually true, I would be like, go back. No associate, human associate would do that, right? They do a good job, and they would keep looking and digging until they have confidence that they got the right answer on what the current rule is. Agents are kind of like that. They just keep going until the confidence is high enough, instead of just one and done, and then you have some probability of success. They keep going, which is really cool.
That's great. Yeah, I want an AI agent that is eager to impress their boss. That's what we need. You've touched on this in an earlier part of our conversation, but uh, for attorneys listening, what are realistic use cases for agentic AI in legal practice today? Like, what are some that right off the top of your head that come to mind?
Yeah, I think there is a lot. And I think the agentic framework opens up a lot, because it used to be that you would have to either use AI or not use AI. It's kind of binary. But with agents, you can deploy them in very specific ways, right? You can have them do client intake for you, right? Or analyze client intake material. So, how can we run a call more smoothly? How can we do conflicts checks better? You can have it run on a series of contracts that your company has engaged in to identify kind of meta level risk, right, to the company, as opposed to individual contract level risk. You can use it for, litigation support, reviewing case files, summarizing. I mean, really, everything that you can get an associate or an employee of a law firm to do, you can get agents to do. Now you can deploy it in a smart way that makes sense, as opposed to all or nothing kind of a way that is maybe too risky for a lot of firms.
Yeah, the other one I want to mention is in our previous talk, we talk about audit trail. So that's something that I'm very keen on, is using AI agents to analyze the audit trail for anomalies, for risk, for patterns, for things that we usually don't do or don't have time for. And then it can find hidden patterns, hidden trends that we're not aware of. So those things are really valuable for anybody who's using these kind of tools.
Good point. Like any new technology, right? There's a risk reward equation at play, I think, especially now as attorneys are wondering, like, how do we leverage this without creating a disaster, or getting burned in some way. So, where does agentic AI create immediate ROI without creating an immediate disaster, say, or and this may speak to best practices in some ways, but can you speak to that, guys?
Yeah, I would say start small. And again, like we talked about in previous episode, focusing on human in the loop, have everybody informed and understand that the implications of what are the different modules, what are you using. So not only just let it go and just assuming everything is working. We need the more advanced the technology, the more aware and the more involved everyone in the team to be, understand and get involved.
Yeah, the only other thing and Lawrence has mentioned this in previous episodes, is the human in the loop aspect of this. you can deploy agents in that loop, right? Because that's my big problem with AI tools out there, is that they kind of just move the human out of the loop, right? They're like, the AI system is running and the human is just like interacting with the output. And to me, that's not a great way to build a legal specific AI tool. So if you already have a human process of, triaging a case or working through a litigation or a document of some sort, you can have an agent kind of strategically be placed in that loop, and it will help you out, as opposed to being out of the loop and then being reliant on AI, right? Which is kind of a scary place to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Flying blind like that. A term that comes up quite a bit in these conversations is hallucinations. AI hallucinates. That's been, sort of proven. But beyond hallucinations, how do agentic systems fail in legal work? Are there less obvious issues to be tracking?
I think these AI models are getting smarter and smarter, but it still hallucinate at times. So I think agent can be used as a complementary part of work instead of replacing this work, right? Um, so we use different type of databases and different type of AI models that enable us to reduce hallucination. And again, in the previous episode, we're talking about audit logs or audit trails. So by combining all of these modules and system and process together, we can prevent hallucination much better than most other solutions.
Great. Thinking about, firms got to make a decision to deploy AI or expand their deployment. What's the single biggest deployment mistake firms make? What have you seen, Samar?
Yeah, the biggest one, well, there are a few, so I'm going to go through them. But, one thing that I see firms do is that they just say, hey, this is an IT thing, let's have IT come in and bring in a tool and implement it. And then that way the attorneys can kind of stay out of it, which is how standard software procurement works at a law firm. And that's a huge mistake, right? Because this software tool is not just a software tool, it's creating risks for you and your firm and your attorneys. So you got to vet it, and you got to make sure you have a strategy in place for dealing with hallucinations and all the risks that comes with it. So I would say one of the big mistakes is just delegating it to a subcommittee or an IT team that doesn't really understand attorney workflows and risks involved. And then the second biggest mistake I see is that attorneys kind of think of AI in the binary, right? Like we either use AI or we don't use AI. And it's just not that anymore. The AI space has evolved. The agent and the agentic flow has dramatically changed things. So it's not just a one and done, or have AI do a whole bunch of things and that way we'll save time. It's not like that, right? If you try to stretch an AI tool to do 100 different tasks, I think it's going to excel at none or very few of them. I think the better way to do it is to bring in specialized tools to help you with specific things that AI can really excel at and can accelerate for your attorneys from a workflow perspective. So those are the two things that I would say watch out for.
Got it. Lawrence, go ahead. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I think the other part is they need to be on top of the environment and what's being changed out, not only in their industry but in AI in general, because AI is moving so fast, and the newer models and the newer paradigms and the newer process are coming along really fast, and they can change the whole industry, turn things upside down pretty quickly. So they need to keep track of that and follow up with their company, because a lot of companies just be happy with whatever they have and then keep pushing the same solution, whereas the whole industry, including AI, is changing really fast. So they need to be on top of what's going on quickly instead of assuming everything is settled.
Yeah, I think Lawrence brings a really good point. And I'll say, I'll just double click on it because it is so important. I'm going to say two things that seem opposites, but they're not, if you can reconcile those. So as Lawrence said, that kind of launch and leave mentality, right? Attorneys are notorious for this, where they come in, find a solution, and then they're out, right? They're out doing billable work, which is what they should be doing. But AI is not a one and done type of event, right? You have to continually evaluate it and evaluate your risks, because that risk profile accrues over time and gets worse over time with the wrong tooling. And with the right tooling, you can figure out how it can help you be even more efficient and keep finding better solutions. So that launch and leave mentality is just not going to work in the AI space. But the flip side of that is that there's this analysis paralysis, right, that attorneys fall into. Everyone knows attorneys are very analytical, very critical, and there are so many tools out there. I had a conversation with another attorney at a big in-house company, and he said that their firm or their company is subscribed to about 38 different AI tools currently. And that's insane. And he said not everyone in the team has access to all the tools, but different people have different accesses. And if you let all that analysis paralysis prevent you from making a decision, I don't think you should be subscribing to 38 tools personally, but you shouldn't let that stop you from making a decision and moving forward, because the only way to really evaluate the tools is to bring them in-house, test them, see where the pain points are, what are they actually solving. They do create new bottlenecks, as we talked about in previous episodes. What are those bottlenecks, and are the trade-offs worth it? So you gotta make a decision at some point as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, that we're out of time, which always happens, but I'll tell you what, that scenario you just spoke to with the 30 different subscriptions speaks exactly to why we're here, which is, secondopinion.law being a resource for people. So that's going to do it for today. Samar, Lawrence, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Good to see you both. If you want to explore practical tools for documenting and supervising AI use in your firm, as I mentioned earlier, visit the website secondopinion.law. Thanks for listening. I'm Sean O'Connor, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the show, and share this episode. I'm sure you know someone who could benefit from an AI discussion. Have a good day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.